All right, and we're gonna get started because it's 12:01 Central. So I'm just gonna introduce Ruby. She's gonna be your speaker for today. Ruby is a board certified immigration attorney and founder of Powers Law Group. She has over 15 years of expertise in law practice management. Ruby has a book. It's called Power Up Your Practice. Go check it out on Amazon. It's great. She has a consulting firm. She offers consulting services through Power Strategy Group. And she has a podcast too. She's a very busy lady. It's called Power Up Your Practice, which is great. With commitment to excellence and empowerment, Ruby inspires legal professionals to succeed in their practices and businesses. And she's a marketing guru when it comes to law. So we're going to talk about a little bit about mastering marketing and client acquisition specifically for law firms, where Ruby has tons of experience on this. So I'm just going to let her take over from here.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good to see you all. Marketing is so important, and thanks for taking maybe your lunch break here, and we'll talk about it. And I mean, I like to say I don't have all the answers, but I've been paying attention to this for a long time, and I'm open to any suggestions, feedback, questions, and let's just have a dialogue. I have obviously some prepared remarks and great content. I put in the chat my book. The Power Up Your Practice came out in September, but one of the things I did was I have two chapters on marketing. One is like on the marketing basics and what you need to know, and then the other one is on purely on digital marketing, actually. A lot in the social media space. But just so we're going to talk about mastering marketing and client acquisition for law firms. This is a really important topic. You need to get the business to run. You need to have clients to help take care of, right? And that creates that pipeline, that funnel that we're going to talk about soon. So just a little bit about myself, my law firm. I've been practicing 16 years. I'm board certified in immigration here in the Texas. And I started the firm back in 2009 after graduating in the Great Recession. Fun times. I think a lot of people started things back then. And then I've been able to grow the firm and do some other things. I sort of divide myself up into the space of, let me get rid of one of my mini little thingies that are beeping, in between the advocacy, law practice management, and immigration. So pretty much I'm doing something in those different spaces. And as she mentioned, I do have a podcast and two books about law practice management. The most recent one, the link is in the chat. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the things I think that I credit a lot of my mindset about marketing to in the past was because okay, so bear with me here. My grandparents were missionaries in another country, and part of it was they had to talk about what they were doing and they send out newsletters and things like that. And so it was like sharing what they were up to. They were getting donations to be able to run their operation. And later I was an exchange student to Belgium with Rotary, and what we were told was do presentations, talk to people, let them know what you're up to, learn, cultural exchange and things like that. So before I knew it, and then I was later a Rotary Ambassadorial Scholar and continued to do that, it became a part of my, my culture, my habits, my way of thinking was just let people know what I'm doing and talk about it. And it just became just second nature to myself. And when I realized that that might be weird or unnatural or uncomfortable for some people, like that's just sort of like how I grew up, and I saw other mentors and people in my life doing that same thing. I think one thing I've also learned when I was writing the book was the importance of rainmaking. One of the things it talks about is that people are high in empathy. And I think that I've realized that whether it's a blessing or a curse in a way, being so empathetic, it does help you be a better rainmaker, connecting with your prospective client or customer. And so anyway, I wrote about that I believe it's in the market, one of the marketing chapters. But that's just an important thing to know who you are, how you work, your personality, and where you can fit in. And maybe you're working together in a team, or maybe you may be the managing attorney or the partner or right-hand associate. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses, whether that's through working on sales in the consult space or doing presentations, writing articles, being out there doing one-on-one networking or small groups, finding that place to fit in. Okay, so all of that is super important. Now, I wanted to also say that marketing is more than just posting things on social media. I think some people have thought that just the bottom line that that's what it is. It's like, oh, as long as I post some stuff on Facebook, I get some. I mean, there's really this misconception. I get some like, I don't know, 20-year-old or something, or my teenage kid, as long as they're posting on the internet. But no, there's so much more behind it. You need to be able to know who your ideal client is and where they are and how to reach them. So before we get started, I just want to say, like, how many of you have written out who your ideal client is, like your avatar? Let's go ahead and put it in the chat. Like, is it yes, no, maybe, and feel free to put it in there if you want to, who it is, and help other people know how they're analyzing their ideal client. It could be like, a certain case type with that are ready to, rock and roll to hire and, or just high tech, like you can really get specific into this space. And, one of the things, if you don't have your ideal client, you probably do, you just haven't written down and figured out the science to that and really written it out. And so think about, who would you like to have more of? Who pays the bills? What type of cases do you like? What would you want to have more of? And so really there is a lot of science and math, if you will, like strategy, if you will, behind all of this. There's more than just posting things on the internet or just haphazardly putting things on a newsletter or what have you. You really want to know who you want to attract, who you want to have more of, and that's really important. And so one other thing I wanted to mention with and making sure that you let's see. Oh, the chat is disabled. Okay, sorry. Let's see.
I'm trying to enable it. Sorry about that. You can put it
Okay,
on the
okay,
Q&A if you guys
okay.
want, and then we can read from there.
So, I also want to say before we go deeper into this is have a piece of paper, have some notes somewhere, because we really want to make sure that you have some takeaways from today's discussion, that you are going to have like your top like 3 to 5 things you're like, oh, that was a good idea. I'm going to do that. And maybe I'm telling it to you for the third or fourth time you've heard of it before, or maybe it's like an aha moment that you just heard for the first time. But please have that list so that way I know that this is working and that you're gonna go and put some of this in action. Okay, so one thing was to identify your ideal clients, and the that can be anything from who do you want to have more of, who do you like working with, what are you guys good at, what are you known for, and that is really really important. When we generally are talking about if marketing, you're also talking about the knowing the market in general. One other really good exercise is to do a SWOT analysis, which is your strengths, your opportunities, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and SWOT, the T, threats.
Threads.
Right. So that's another really good exercise to do when you're analyzing your market. And when you're thinking about that, like it'll help you evaluate who is in your market. Maybe you're just like you're doing your thing, maybe you're a little in your silo and you haven't looked to see what your competitors are doing. And maybe they've got these awesome websites, or maybe they're doing these things in social media, or they have a chat bot or whatever. I don't know what they're doing. But it's good to know to take a look every once in a while and do that SWOT analysis to identify what you could minimizing the weaknesses, leveraging those opportunities, minimizing potential threats, and and really leaning into those strengths. So that's another good tip. Now, the other thing I want to mention about this, the client expectations. Oh my goodness, we are in this space where people want everything like yesterday, right? Like if you compare it to Amazon, for example, you can get on your little phone, right? I can say, I need, I don't know, edible glitter. I need it for something for my daughter's birthday party. Okay, don't ask me. But anyway, I can go on my phone and I go boop, 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 boop. And then like, oh, within a few hours, it's on a truck and they're giving me a play-by-play of where it's going to be. Or let's say I go to Domino's, and then I love their little pizza tracker and they say, oh, they're baking quality control. It's out for delivery. And like there's even like a little app and it shows like, John is driving it and like, oh, don't go there. That's not a good way. No, I don't know. So like literally you can see what's happening. There's technology and you're able to you know, like not having to do a lot of manual labor or heavy communication, but people are getting that instant gratification and that constant knowledge about what's going on. And so there's higher expectations right now, and this is why, if you're able, law firms were always way, 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 way behind other industries, unfortunately. And so when we start getting up to speed with what other industries are doing, our clients are more comfortable, they're happier, they're grateful in that space. So one thing I also like to mention is the sales funnel. Gazillions of years ago, when I first heard about it, I was thinking, oh, that doesn't apply to law firms. We're special, we're different. Oh, boy, I was so wrong. And I use these general terms of awareness, interest, decision, action because it really can mean different things to your firm. But for example, I usually say awareness is like the contact, initial contact, like a call, contact form, your chat on your website or something like that. The interest or consideration could be having a consultation, for example. The decision could be asking for a contract and providing that contract. The action or advocacy could be they paid, they signed, and now it's a case. And I say all of this because you're probably inevitably going to lose people along the way. So if you were to say, I get for every 100 awarenesses or contacts, we get 5 actions or advocacy, like people hiring. Okay, so you lose 95 people along the way. That's pretty bad, right? And so how do you get these numbers and how do you manipulate and monitor these things? Well, you look to your data. A lot of people do have this data, but they're not monitoring it. So you could go for the awareness, you can go to all your contact forms, or you can go to your case management software, sorry, your CRM, your your customer relationship management software. You can go to your phone system and see. And now sometimes it can be hard because maybe it's an existing client calling, not like a prospective client. So, there's like little different ways to tell. But anyway, that data is there. Then interest, that could be like paid consults, for example. Now I know personal injury is a little bit different because in some areas don't charge for consults, but for those who do, let's run with this idea. And so how many people actually who call and ask and interested actually pay for a consult? And then how many people ask for a contract? And then the people who ask for a contract, like how many people like don't even review it, sign it, follow up, what happens there? And then of those, like how many do you lose to actually hiring you? Um, so, uh, oh yeah, we could send the slides. We could send the slides afterwards. So anyway, I know I don't know if the chat's working yet, but like, this is another really good tip to have in your marketing arsenal of things to do. And maybe not you having to do it, maybe you can delegate this out, but going and collecting this data so you can have it. So we have recently moved over, well, we've had a CRM for a while, but now we're able to connect it to our case management software. Long story. But anyway, now we have a lot more data. It's all coming together. But before I could, and so that's why I'm giving you a solution, I had this thing I called the everything audit. And the everything audit was basically like a one snapshot dashboard. Now there's a lot of great programs out there that can provide this, but basically it had these numbers. How many people called us, how many people scheduled, how many like were like no shows or didn't happen. So we can sort of see what happened there. How many hired wanted a contract, and then how many actually hired. And we look at those numbers every month. Now, sometimes because those contracts were good for 2 weeks, that's what we did. Maybe they had a consult in 1 month, but then they hired another month. Yeah, that happens. But anyway, the point of it is to sort of see those numbers, to see the trends. Like for me, a couple of weeks ago, we had our best month, a best week in the entire 15 years. And I was like, I want more of that. And then we had some staffing challenges in the reception space, and we're getting back up to speed right away. But it's as I was even having a meeting about this right before this speech today, and I was like, this is really hurting us. We've got to get these experienced reception team people in the right spots so we can keep that momentum that we have out there. Because if we don't respond quickly enough, we don't sound like we're on top of things, then we're gonna lose that business. So anyway, this is another great tool. You want to have your numbers, you want to monitor your numbers on a regular basis, because if you're just going on feelings, you could be completely missing the boat. Because once you figure out these numbers, the next thing you're going to be doing is figuring out where you're losing, where's the attrition, where are the leaky bucket, where's the hole. From awareness to interest, do you have a receptionist that's not friendly, that's not knowledgeable, that's too slow to respond? What's happening there? Not understandable, not enough receptionists. Are you leaving more voicemails or things like that? Interest for the consult. Are you pricing too high? Are you not having enough availability? Is it the way your team is selling it not persuasive enough? Are you new to the market and people don't know who you are, what you're trying to accomplish, and maybe you need to try something different? Asking for the contract. Maybe the contract, I mean, back in the day, I used to email it to them and expected them to print it out and sign and scan back. Like, oh my goodness, no. Like if now we just have it on your little phone, you can email it to them, boop, 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 you can sign with your finger and you can pay online. We made it easy. That's the other thing you want to remember here is you want to reduce the friction. You want to make it simple for people to hire you. Just like how I added credit card uh, processing gazillions of years ago. You want to make it simple. If you have to make people come in and write a check or mail something in or bring in cash, that's going to take forever. And you want to give them options. And then who hires? So all of this numbers are important. Being able to see where you lose people along the way, super important. You want to do analysis of that. So if you haven't done that, the first few things I said about like the avatar, the SWOT analysis, and the funnel, you should go do that first before you go do all this other stuff we're going to talk about. So you really want to know, who you are and what your who your ideal client is on trying to figure out what do they need and how to solve their problem. There's a lot of great material out there in the marketing space. And really a lot of times, I think there's a book called like about storytelling. And really one of the biggest things is you're trying to alleviate a pain point for your client. And a lot of times people have never hired an attorney. They're scared of us. They don't know what they think we're expensive. They don't know which attorney to get for what, so you want to make it simple for them. And you want to make sure that they know what makes you special, what your firm, and how you can meet their needs. And so that's important. The other thing that's specific to legal marketing is that, and did you know this? This is crazy. I was reading when I was writing my book. This is where I really got to know this. It was in 1977. So some of us were alive during that time. And Bates v. State Bar of Arizona, and it basically removed, it was a Supreme Court case that removed the bans on preventing attorneys from advertising. It was 1777. Yeah. And what happened was Bates and Osteen had posted their legal fees and advertisement and legal fees, and it wasn't permitted at the time. And so if you think about some of the firms you've ever talked to, some of them will say, oh, I don't advertise, I don't market, I don't whatever. Well, a lot of it, I believe a lot of it comes from the fact that it's been only like 40, what is that, 45 years, I don't know, something like that, less than 50 years, that people have been able to the law firms have been able to advertise. And so what a lot of it was a lot of a word of mouth, networking, getting out there in the community. And you know what? A lot of that is necessary to this day. It still is, but you can speed things up by leveraging digital marketing and social media and being more targeted. Because back to the in the very beginning, like if you just think this is like I'm posting stuff, sort of this like shotgun approach of just doing whatever or seeing or spaghetti on the wall, see what sticks, like that is not targeted. You really want to know who your client is, how you can, how they, what they need to solve, how you can solve them, and be able to effectively communicate that to them. And so all of that is really important, but it requires really thinking about it and not just haphazardly doing this. So think about that ideal client, age, gender, location, relevant factors. Where do they live? I mean, not like really literally, but like where they hang out and what do they do? Even like finding your ideal client, like literally an ideal client you like, and work with, and then maybe just having lunch and be like, how can I find more of people like you? Where do you guys hang out? What do you do? Are you in this chamber of commerce? Are you in this club or in this group? Do you on these chat, whatever? I don't know. How can I find more people like you? And people hang out in like in packs and things like that. So it probably can tell you really easily. And that could help you build up that pipeline. What is that the needs and pain point? And being able to learn how to communicate that. So like if I just say, like I'm helping people with their immigration law or something like that. That sounds boring. But what I'm really doing is I'm helping reunite families. I'm helping them be able to find a strong foothold in the United States and being able to have that security of building their life and their professional future for their children here and in the United States. Or in asylum, helping them overcome some traumatic past to be able to find a secure future here in the United States. So, like being able to communicate what that is and knowing how you're helping people will help you in your marketing efforts. And also just knowing how people make these decisions. I think sometimes what people are doing is they know there's a problem. They maybe avoid it for a while, and then they're like, "Oh, I need to fix it." When there's a deadline, like in my case, it's like notice of intent to deny, a request for evidence, a hearing date, a 1-year filing deadline for asylum, something like that. You really can't avoid it that much. But I when it's something super important, some people avoid and some people like go head on. But what, how do they find someone? And that's important. Just ask some people, your ideal clients as well. How did they find me? I always like to ask that in a consultation, like, how did you find me? And it's been fun the last few weeks. We had so many consults, and it's been a combination of these random attorneys that have recommended me. Appreciate it. Thank you. Um, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. That's just so great that I'm on some referral list, or it might be like a former client or what have you. But like every time I get that information, it helps reinforce the fact that I'm doing the right thing. But having that data collected in your intakes also helps you decide where to put your efforts and for your return on investment. So knowing how clients find you and in their decision-making process, it's probably a combination of, do they feel a connection to you? Do they feel like your fees are in their price point? And do they feel like you're going to be able to get them to that finish line? So after you've decided who your target audience is, your ideal client, and then you're going to figure out how can I target that audience. You're also going to be figuring out like what makes me unique, what makes my firm unique. Where is my book on that one? Oh yeah, I really like traction. And he talks about like what is your he talks a lot about like core focus and all those other good stuff, but like what makes you unique? Like that's another good question, homework assignment. Like and I teach law practice management, so that's why I think like this. So excuse the professor thoughts and expressions occasionally here, but like what makes your firm unique? And for one of the things about our firm is everyone in the firm is a child of an immigrant, married to an immigrant themselves, like lived extensively abroad. And we, as an immigration law firm, really pride ourselves in being connected in serving the immigrant community, and really have a connection to that community personally, and treating people as if they could be family, for example. And so I think that's really what is important to note when you're thinking, yeah, it was the three uniques. This is what he puts under the marketing strategy. So what it makes your firm unique? And you can list a few of them. And that also is when you're doing the SWOT analysis and where you're doing the market research, that all comes into play, because then you can communicate what that is that makes you unique. Because if you're just everything, like if you're just like everybody, like sometimes I think people think this is just a commodity, like it's all apples, apples and oranges, like it's all the same thing. But no, but in the professional service industry, it really is different. Depending on, how much is it more of a limited scope or is it more of a full scope? But these are some of the things that, especially if they're not knowledgeable about working with um, law firms, they might not understand how to choose one and what the difference is. Okay. And so then there's a lot of different marketing channels, because like once you know where do people live, so to speak, then you're going to be like, well, where can I find more of them? So, one of my marketing people, intern assistants was like, Facebook, that's where the older people go. Anyway, I think he was sort of talking about me, but anyway, so know the different demographics. In fact, when I was doing that chapter for the book, I put in all of those different details as to who is in the different top social media accounts. So, for example, Facebook, which is huge. Let me see. So, chapter 14, I've got all of this here. I mean, the Facebook and YouTube have a lot of followers. And it's quite fascinating. So, as the time of I wrote this and I got this data, which isn't that old, 3 billion active monthly users for Facebook, 3 billion, 2 billion active daily users. Wow. Like, so that's a lot of the world. And so let's see, 30%, let's say 50% of Facebook is between 25 and 44. Okay. So take that with what you want with that. Now, LinkedIn is quite fascinating. I used to think incorrectly, that it was more for people looking for jobs and recruiters. But you know what? LinkedIn is like some people's like new Facebook. Like they're just like on there. Sometimes when I can't get a hold of somebody over email, I message them on LinkedIn and I get a response faster than I do if it were on email. That's my little trick. So LinkedIn, there's 1 billion users and from over 200 countries, and 50% of LinkedIn users are between 25 and 34. But if you don't already have LinkedIn for yourself and for your firm, make sure you put that on your to-do list. You probably already do for yourself, but make sure it's complete. You're connecting, you're getting out there, you're really leveraging it to the fullest. Instagram, it's another one of the meta ones, and there's 2 billion users. You can it's more visual, more video. And then YouTube, it's got a lot of information. They've got shorts there. So many people are on YouTube. I got that number over here. And then TikTok, that one is still alive. So YouTube has 2.5 billion global users. TikTok is still around. It's not just about dances. There's a really good algorithm on there. Some people have amassed, millions of followers in the lawyer space. It's really helps for like the short term thing. But what I do is I record short videos and then we repost them on all of these things. Reels on Instagram, shorts on YouTube. We put TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, so you can repurpose them on all of them. And then there's also email marketing, which we have a newsletter that's powered by our CRM. You can also use things like MailChimp or all those other ones that are like that. Uh, Monkey, was there something with a monkey? Yeah, that is MailChimp. Okay. But anyway, I love my newsletter. Honestly, I'm so glad I do it because it really helps me be top of mind and help let people know that we exist and we add our old former clients and our existing clients, and it's a way to get that information out all the time. So let's move on to some more. Which internet channels is most appropriate for marketing a professional practice? Um, by professional, I'm thinking you mean LinkedIn, but go ahead and put more detail in that question. But for example, I'll go back for a hot minute here. Um, okay. So if I want to get individuals from a certain age bracket, like more in that 40s-ish, 40s, 30, 40, 50, then I probably want to do Facebook. You can put news and videos. And if I want to go to LinkedIn, I want to get decision makers, professionals in my space. That would be my employment-based immigration, investment-based immigration. It also could be like HR professionals, CEOs, let's see, and just also just the referral network, people saying, oh, wait, Ruby does that. Oh, I should tell her, I should refer business to her, that type of thing. So I think in the most professional sense, it's LinkedIn. Um, well, the thing about it is we're talking about legal marketing. So we're talking about, back to that question, a legal practice. It really depends on who your clientele are. So if I'm really wanting to focus on the business immigration clients, investment and just a huge referral network, then I'm going to really leverage LinkedIn. And that's what I've realized the handful of years. That's where I was one of my weaker areas. And we've been building that up. But you can't just post the same thing on all of the platforms. Like you really do have to tailor it a little bit more to that audience. The other thing that's really good is like programs like Hootsuite. There's other ones like that where you can basically have all of your accounts tied to one login and you can pre-schedule things and have things ready to go. So it could be very similar or the same, but you could have it pre-scheduled for like when is the best time that people are looking. Sometimes it's at lunch or sometimes at night or sometimes even people are looking on their LinkedIn on the weekends because it's, that's just sort of habit and they're doing it. Um, Search engine optimization is really important. It's basically how you get found with your website and what other links that you have. I think that I think there's been a lot of changes over the last few years with how things work, but predominantly what you were doing would you want to link your website to other links or making sure that you would be found. Like if it was immigration attorney or something like Houston immigration attorney or whatever, like I would want that to be tied to my website link so that it could be found when people are doing like a Google search. I will say that I think Google is not getting as much of the dominant the space as it used to because I think people are using like ChatGPT and a lot of other AI tools as like their search function. And so I think that that is where you need to make sure that you're searchable and all those different platforms that people are going to. So there's been a lot of change in that space, I think. Um, content marketing is really important because if you're getting information out in blogs and webinars and shorts and videos and whatever, like I had a consult this week and he said, you were the only attorney that did a video on OBIM FOIA. It's like this FOIA that you submit with your fingerprints and your information, and it helps you get better data. And he was calling from Nashville, for example, and I'm in Houston. But because immigration's federal, that helps me that I've been doing these content and all these different random things, I guess. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So people have told me that they found me on YouTube for something really specific that they were searching, and that's where they found it. So, I mean, we're not really doing like white papers. We're mostly doing like blogs, articles, and webinars. The other thing that's a good trick is like with maybe even Otter AI or some transcription, Fathom, I don't know, whatever you want to do. You can turn whatever your video in. Like I could turn, if we turn this video into a transcript, then I could make a whole article out of it. I could run it through an AI tool, say ChatGPT, for example, to turn into different little small blogs. You could try to say, make it SEO optimized, basically. Um, And so anyway, content marketing is really important. It feeds into the SEO. It also basically that's the biggest thing. People can find you. It helps you look more like you know what you're talking about. Social media engagement. It's not just important to post. You also want to respond. So the other day I was on my YouTube account and I realized we hadn't responded to some of these comments, but that's really where it's at, is like creating that community and being able to respond to people on a regular basis. So you want to make sure that you're not only um, posting, but you've got like either you're using bots or team members to help you monitor comments and filter as you need. And being able to communicate in that space. Actually, while I'm thinking about that, you also want to be having somebody who's in charge of watching reviews so they can respond. You want to actively be asking for new reviews. We're going to talk about that. But also, you want to be watching to see if people are trying to pretend to be you. On TikTok, for some reason, I have a whole bunch of fake wannabe me people. And so I have to keep sending screenshots. I have to keep to my IP attorney to have her help get those taken down. But you want to be very careful because they were very ruthless, actually. They created like a whole nother number and used my image and then like made a count. So you want to be aware. You really, there's another pro tip. Have somebody in charge of this that's ideally maybe not you, that's monitoring the reviews, all of your accounts, and making sure there's no like fakes or something like that. And also, I have like a Google alert for my name and the firm. And so usually when I'll do like media, they don't always tell you when it's coming out, they're busy. But usually I find out because I get a Google alert to my email. So that's another good tip. So CRMs, love to see, imaginary ask you, raise your hand if you use a CRM tool. Um, Customer relationship management, a lot of big companies use them, names out there like Salesforce and Zoho and all of that. But in the legal space, it's like Lawmatics, Clio Grow, Lead Docket. So Clio Grow's Clio, Lead Docket's Filefind. Lawmatics is a standalone. That's one I've been using. And so it's a good place that the data can go in. It can flow to a contract. It can have a pipeline. You can analyze the data and it can be pushed to your case management software. Sometimes case management software have a CRM added, like maybe a mini CRM. Some of them are more robust than others. There's a lot of, pros and cons about whether you want to have a legal one or a non-legal one. So just think about those things. But the biggest point is like, imagine this. Someone calls me and their information gets put in the system. And then I can see like a Kanban board in a way, like that they get moved along the way from like they've shown an interest, they're getting scheduled, they want a contract, and then they pay. And then they can get in my newsletter. So I'm bringing them into the fold on a regular basis. And that data does not, if it's done right, have to be data entered, upload, download, and that much more. And that information, like phone numbers and emails, contact information, can be stay in that space. And so anyway, that is the ideal situation, and that can go to your case management software. So I highly suggest getting a CRM. Do your research. I'm actually doing a presentation at the ABA Tech Show in early April in Chicago, April 2nd to 5th, on CRMs, but I really think that a lot of firms are not using them. If they are, maybe they're not using to the fullest. And so even myself, we've had Lawmax for 4 years, but because we were only able to connect to our case management software less than a year ago, we've now are really getting to use it, and it's been awesome. And we're still improving. It's still improving, and it's automating and making things more efficient, less relying on people to have to remember, less relying on like little sticky notes or something like that. Like I said, I've been using Lawmatics for a while. I can talk more about that. I know that some people love Lead Docket. Some, CleoGrow used to be like Cicada, I believe, like 6 years ago. But if you want to email me and we talk more about all those types of things, feel free. I'll make sure to put I think my email is in the chat, but we talk more, connect on LinkedIn. So it's important to also consider all these other things. Like, so we were talking about that about during the time when this is all lawyers had. They couldn't advertise, right? And so engaging in professional networking, who would be a great resource for me? So I'll just say I'm immigration attorney, full service. So, I'd say like real estate agents, corporate attorneys, criminal defense attorneys, family law attorneys, even like ministers or religious leaders, other community leaders like that who know a ton of people. Those connectors, if you will, like in that from Malcolm Gladwell type of thing, the connector people. So if you just hit up a smaller group of people, then and they know what you do, remind them what you do, and you keep letting them know, then you're going to be able to make a big impact. Because you might like, I know that person. Why didn't they remember me? Because it's up to you to keep staying in touch. So this is a really good way between LinkedIn, regularly posting, commenting, also asking people, shooting them an email, just checking in, having a coffee, having a lunch, having a rotation. One of the other things I did in Houston was this, I did three things. One of them was the Goldman Sachs 10,000 businesses. I was put in a class of 30 other business owners. It's been great. It's been a decade. Still in touch with a lot of them, doing business with a lot of them. Friends, colleagues learn from each other. The other one was Leadership Houston. The other one was American Leadership Forum. One of the best things about these programs was because it was sort of like that post school type of life in where we are, where it's sort of maybe harder to meet people unless they're like the parents of your kids' classmates or something like that, or somebody because you get into the grind of working and everything, is that it created like intense networking opportunities to meet people from a cross section around the city in different professions, but we usually had like a common interest or bond. And it's been great. And I mean, honestly, even though Houston's like what, I don't know, one of the largest cities in the country, I feel like this is the biggest little town, because I keep bumping into people I know all the time. So being purposeful about that, that could be a whole session. Who are the people that refer business to them? Thank them, appreciate them, help them out, and keep it reciprocal. Client referral programs, encouraging clients to refer, ask for reviews, keep them happy. Like, honestly, um, when you had your firm for a while, like my 15 years now, like we could probably just survive off of client referrals in prior cases but I like to keep going out there and being out there, reminding people who we are and getting a new pipeline. But in the beginning, you have to hustle because you don't have that, depending if you're just completely started from scratch or how many clients following you. So you also want to keep that healthy dose of keeping that, getting good reviews, monitoring the reviews, appreciating those reviews. The community involvement, getting out there. One of the things we've been doing just recently, I mean, we do this a lot, but like hardcore the last couple of weeks, like last 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, I think I'm talking every day is about know your rights to community. And I mean, I want to do this. I want to do this. Why we're talking to dreamers, we're talking to construction workers, we're talking to the consulate, we're talking to different sub-ethnic like language groups, so that they feel we're talking to churches. Oh my gosh, so many different groups, but we want to give back to the community. We want to let people know, and we know that it'll be valuable, whether we get business out of it or not, whatever. But the point is we want to be, it helps establish, trust, visibility, us as an expert. And so that's whatever it may be. Like if I'm on a speakers bureau, for example, with the Houston Bar Association, and that's another way that I'm able to get out there and communicate. So think about where your lead generations are coming from. We do weekly webinars in English and Spanish, and we post it on LinkedIn, on YouTube. We keep them short. I used to keep them long. That was so dumb. But I think about the audience. Who's the audience? What do they want? So we keep them like 10 or 15 minutes. So sometimes we're used to talking to other lawyers. We need to remember who is our audience. Talk to your audience. Encourage the clients to recommend, stay involved out there. And then so on the ethical side, know what your state bar's rules are. Keep an eye on confidentiality. Like if your clients are wanting to be on the media interview, making sure that you've either orally written, have it confirmed that it's okay. I've done a lot of media with my clients. I usually negotiate anything like a shadow, an image, showing the hands or the feet, or like not the face, whatever it may be. Some people are like, it doesn't matter, it's fine. But people have different reasons for different things. So keeping that in mind, not giving out key information. I sometimes don't even like to say the real name. Um, and being honest about, consistency is really important from what you say in the consultation all the way to what happens in the end. So we're getting closer to the end, so I want to make sure we have some time for any questions, but feel free to start putting those in the Q&A. But really the biggest thing here is that every state bar has their own different regulations, but you don't want to say anything that's false. You don't want to say, I'm the best person in the whole attorney in the whole world. You don't say that. And just be aware. And one other thing about this is important is that you might hire team members to help you, support you, right? That's normal. But they need to know these type of the ethical considerations. So for the most part, I generally not wanted to use an outside marketing only sometimes if they didn't know they hadn't worked with law firms. But if they know it and they've worked with law firms, yes, yay, I love that because to get them up to speed can be a bit difficult. So that's really important if they know this, and that makes life so much easier. Other things to note is about the key performance indicators. What are you trying to accomplish? You want to have this many cases? Okay, so going back to that funnel, how many contacts do I need to have to get this many cases? And within a healthy funnel, right? And then that means that if you're like, I want to up my caseload so I can up my revenue potentially, right? Then how many contacts do I need to get? So what will I need to do? Making sure that there's like a net promoter score. You could use that, or asking clients, what do you think about our services? You don't have to wait till the whole thing is done, but finding out what that is, and being constantly being open to improvement. Don't put it, it's like, no, we're fine, we're perfect, right? That's that whole difference between fixed and growth mindset by Carol Dweck. You want to be constantly looking to how you can improve. And getting that data, getting feedback. And when people say, oh, it's hard to schedule a consult, or oh, it was hard to get through to you, or oh, your intake is really long, or whatever, like really think about that. How can you make it better? So as we're getting towards the end, I think the other thing that's super hot right now, has been hot for a while, is just how you can use AI in your marketing space. We're also been knowing about video marketing for a while, being really hot, and sort of like, people don't read that much anyway, even though I wrote a big book. And so they learn through usually like podcast or video. And so how can you get that information across? And that's even why, like, TikTok was so popular, that being able to have like those short videos. So how can you get that information out there? How can you be engaging? So back to the artificial AI. You can use AI to help you with blog articles, to make it long articles, to get that content. You can help it with thinking of scripts. Like I could say, help me write some scripts for my short videos today in immigration. You can help it can help you do so many things. It can analyze data so much. If you want to email me for like a list of other great tips on using AI in marketing, I'll definitely put my information in the chat. Video marketing, you can also clip videos, you can edit it a lot easier, you can put subtitles really easily. I mean, think about all the stuff that you used to have a crazy huge team, lots of material, a lot of experience, folks on staff to do it. Now you can pretty much do it with like a super low budget. And honestly, like I have a light, I have a camera, I have a mic. You know what I've been doing? I've been so busy. I've been recording in my car when I'm waiting to pick up my daughter for volleyball on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, because and I'll get a light I'll record in my car. Cars are sort of good for audio. But I'm like, that's all I can do. I'm not waiting. I don't need it to be perfect. It seems to be normal for people to record in cars. I mean, I'm not moving or anything. It's parked. But anyway, and making sure you're thinking about that client journey and how you can improve it. Because you want them to be happy. You want them to refer. You want them to come back. You want them to think fondly of you. Um, let's see, what are one or two biggest uses of AI in marketing and client insights? I would say, um, well, we've been doing this for about 2 years, I guess. Like you can make awesome prompts for your LinkedIn, for your social media. You can make great copy. Like you can just sort of say a couple of things and then put it in there, and it can even have like little cute little icons. So I think we're doing this on a regular basis. The copy for our posts, for turning the transcripts into articles and blog posts for content, and then I think the other one is like video editing. Is those are sort of like the ones I think are our jam, but. You can think of some other ones that might be good depending on what your needs are. How do you approach requesting reviews from your clients? I do know that I think it's in, is it Florida? I don't know. There's some states I think you're not allowed to ask, so figure that out for your own rules. But the ones that you are, what we do is periodically we'll just say, we're so grateful that you're able to find us to help you along with your journey. If you wouldn't mind, if you felt that we've been helpful along the way and you'd like help other people find us as well, we'd really gratefully appreciate a review here. And so we try to make it easy for them, quick ask, direct link, and then that way they link it and then they're able to. If they open it like on their phone, for example, then they should be able to open up to their logged in account. And so that could be really easy. So like if they clicked they on their email on their phone, like Google, boop, 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 they can do it there. So hopefully that answers the question. So we talked a lot about everything from identifying your ideal client to your avatar to a SWOT analysis. We talked a lot about the funnel and why the funnel is really important, making sure that you figure out where those leaks are and your numbers and watch those numbers on a regular basis so you can see trends and you can glean information and ideally task your team to do that for you and tell them to tell what their themes that you're seeing, what are you learning from it. And then, also asking for reviews, using AI in your creating copy, creating content, creating editing, those types of things. I didn't mention how you can use podcasting as well, but you can lean into what you really enjoy. Like if it's video, if it's writing, if it's podcasting, but you can use it. There's lots of different mechanisms. It's really a lot of fun, honestly. I really love marketing actually. And the podcast I have is for law practice management. It's not for immigration, but I truly love the one-on-one conversations. And when they're posting out an article, I mean an episode, then my guests post on their network, and so it helps create this sort of this expansion of network really quickly. And so that's another added benefit of the different mechanisms. So make sure that you're evaluating these different marketing strategies and it's not just aimlessly posting things, and constantly reflect and figure out how you can improve as you go. And so just a quick moment, I mentioned my book that has 2 chapters on marketing where I get a lot of my great content, but it's really from a lot of the things I've done these last 15 plus years, even from when I was exchange student. I do have the podcast, always looking for great guests, and I do consulting. Feel free to put it in connection there if you want. And then also, this is my law firm. This is our information and a lot of the ways you can stay in touch with us. So I think that we have just a couple of 5 minutes, right? Are there any other questions that anyone has that they want to ask? And we'll go ahead and go from there. So yeah, what was the question about elder law? I'm not sure what that question was, but any other questions that we have? Best suggestions and tips. Let's see. I think that it's great that we're talking about marketing. Oh yes, okay. Okay, thanks. Um, and it's a great opportunity to be a resource out there. Um, I was even thinking about like I know people, but sometimes I might not reach out and like say, hey. And so just, making a culture of or a habit of texting someone every once in a while, say, hey, just checking in. One I think the best tips is contacting people when you don't need something from them. You just genuinely care. And it can be hard and to do that, but I think that really speaks volumes. Um, what's your take on law practice coach for solo practitioners? I mean, I am one, so I'm biased, but I think it can be very valuable. I've used them in the past. I've used some business courses and things like that. I think sometimes you might just need a little confirmation or a couple little nuggets of information. Doesn't have to mean like you're in it forever. There's some programs that's like monthly, annual, this and that. Like for me, we're pretty much just do it month, hour to hour or month to month, just sort of casual at the moment. We're building out some more of our programs and courses, but I think it can be very valuable. Some of the best, because it can be lonely as a law firm owner or as a solo. It can also feel like you are having to do everything on your own, and you want to be able to compare notes with other people, and you want to make sure that you can, just get verification that you're on the right path. And so that's why I think it can be very valuable. I do know there's a lot of people who do this and out there. And really the question is who do you make it feel can help you? Who do you have a connection with? Okay, we got more great questions here. Well, and someone says we're in New Jersey. Well, I mean, you can do a lot of this remotely, in finding someone to support you. So, like for example, just because I help people all over the country, just for example, but you can, unless you want them to be specifically come in person. What do you think about having friends and family as clients? I've always heard don't do it. Okay. I think that you go proceed with caution, have boundaries. Um, I have represented lots of family on immigration. But we had a contract, we clarified things. Um, it's gone well, but I think if you're too concerned about it, maybe don't do it. If you feel like it's going to create more of a conflict or an issue, then maybe don't do it. But you could always refer them to somebody that you trust. But yeah, that is I've had success with it. Sometimes with the friends it can be a little bit touchy because you're like, oh, I hope everything goes well, because you're just like so concerned about it, even though everything normally goes well. It's just why would I have to think about it? I think that really is a personal preference. Let's see. What's the best way to connect with firms in other jurisdictions as a way of expanding practice? So you mean like to see if they're wanting to sell or to do referral or something along those lines? Feel free to put more in the question. I think it really can be you just do some market research and you find a firm that you like what they're doing and you want to talk and create a conversation. One of the other things that I wanted to mention is that there's a lot of baby boomers that are going to be retiring. A lot of when I was doing my research on the book, 1 in 6 lawyers I think are over 65 or something like that. But lawyers normally stay in the profession longer than non-lawyers, and but eventually they're going to want to sell or retire. And so that's another great way. That question made me think about this, about how being able to expand your market, your business, by absorbing buying into other practices. And so keep that in mind as another tool that you can use as probably the next 5 years or so, we're going to see a lot of retiring. And the other thing to note about that is there hasn't been a lot of really great um, let's see, what do you say? there hasn't been a long history of people being able to, law firms being able to sell their practices. And so that has been another issue, just like marketing, where we're a little bit weaker in that space than other industries. Um, what do you think about building per diem work while building a practice? Yeah, I think a lot of people do that just to have an extra income source. I've done that. I've had a lot of contract attorneys and helped support them as they've been building theirs. Like when they want to work for their clients who are in different jurisdictions. Yeah, I've because it's federal, I normally can help everyone in in the US, but when I have to team up with like Pro Hoc Vice or something for federal litigation, we've done that. Um, let's see. Um, okay, you guys are asking a lot of questions at the very last game, end of the game here. How a practice is priced. I think we're gonna have to do another session on that. I do have at least one or two podcasts on that, so feel free to go there or reach out to me. How much do you think of your budget should be on marketing? I believe I've heard anything from like 5 to 10% is what of your revenue is what you should be looking at. So I'm so glad that we could have this time together. I don't know if everyone can see my host and panelist with my email, but feel free to reach out. Ruby Powers on LinkedIn. We can always connect on lots of different things from the book, the podcast, consulting questions that spill over from today's discussion that we couldn't answer in detail. So thank you for so much for having me.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Ruby, so much. And we will send out the recording of the webinar today to everybody who attended and who registered but couldn't make it. So thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.